Thanks. Let's go to the second chapter and move from the pre-game situation to the in-game situation, and basically continue our work with building confidence. Right? You focus on the things that you can control, but during the game, a lot of things can happen. Right? And a lot of things can happen that can impact your level of confidence. And here are just a couple of examples, a couple of scenarios that you will have encountered or that you can encounter. Eh? A missed call. Everybody makes mistakes, and then we tend to get angry with ourselves. Yeah, how can I miss that? How could I not see that? And then obviously players, coaches start to disagree with the call. Maybe start paying attention to the next call. You talk to yourself. How is it possible? You get a little bit deflated. You let yourself down. So these kind of negative thoughts can enter your brain and can take over if you're not careful, and really can hit your confidence and decrease the level of your confidence. So, and then pretty quickly, if you're not careful, if you're not managing this, you can get into a negative cycle, right? You get more anxious. Because you're anxious, your vision gets narrowed, and maybe you miss a second situation. You tell yourself, I can't make a second mistake. I must not make a second mistake. And you get more anxious, and your muscles get more tense, which makes it more difficult to stay relaxed and have a good overview over the game and be quick around the pitch. So it makes it more difficult. These negative thinking and a lower confidence makes it more difficult. So you risk getting into this negative cycle if you don't take control and if you don't manage the level of confidence. So there are a couple of things that you can do. So Séraphine, from your experience, what could be like a practical example of an in-game scenario where your level of confidence starts to drop?
Well, I every time someone mentions anything like this, I think back to a game. It was my first year of officiating, and I missed a call. It wasn't a really big call, but I got annoyed with myself, and I was, while I was thinking about how did I miss that, I missed another call. And then I was beating myself up, like, how do you miss 2 calls in a row? And then at some point I even stopped, like I wasn't moving where I was supposed to, because I was just getting in my own head. And that was quite a while ago, but I can still remember that game very well, because by the end of it, I'd like to think that by the end of it I'd adapted it, but there was really a point where I was like, what am I doing? How is it happening that I let myself get this far away from everything? And you stop having fun, because all you can think about is all the things you've done wrong in that game. And the more you think about those wrong things, the more wrong things you're going to do. So yeah, and at that point, I really wish, someone I'd have known how to tell myself, snap out of it and just be with it again. But yeah, but that's that for me is always the practical example that I think of.
Yeah, and it's a perfect example. So let's look at what is happening in our brain. Let's look at the psychology of our brain, for example, when we talk about self-confidence, because it's obviously not something that is a trait that you have or you don't have, right? It is a state. It is an emotional state. So the level of confidence is flowing. It's not stable, and there are a lot of influencing factors, right? The game situation, you missed a call, you missed a second call. Obviously, these situations will impact your level of confidence. And you can also your starting level of confidence. What we talked about just there in your pre-game routines. If you can check all the boxes, you started with a good level of confidence. But if you were not prepared properly, maybe your starting level was 60% instead of 100%. Other factors, yeah, your personal beliefs. How do you look at yourself? Also, as as an official, but also more broadly? What's the level of confidence that you have in your own capabilities, professionally, in your sport, in social interactions and things like that? How do you look at yourself as somebody who is probably going to fail, or somebody who has the capabilities to do a good job? Yeah, what are your beliefs that that are fundamental with you? So these are a couple of things that will influence your level of confidence. So the first, and it's important to be aware of the fact, and then also of what happens in your brain, basically, because when the scenario that we just described is a scenario where you start focusing on yourself, right? On the call that you missed, and you start to talk negatively. Yeah? How is it possible? I don't want to miss a second call. Yeah, and you start to focus inwards instead of outwards on the game, on what is happening, on the play that is being made, or on anticipating the next play. Yeah, so you need to shift your focus from this internal aspect to this external environment. Yeah, so that's what we need to do. So that's what's happening in our brain. Yeah, when we feel we're losing confidence, we're starting to focus inward, and it's like, yeah, we're talking negatively to ourselves. It's like this inner critic that we all have is taking over. So we need to challenge that inner critic. We need to find a way to speak positively about ourselves and to focus on the things that we are controlling, to focus on the things that we are able to do, to shift towards the external focus, focus on observation. And there are a couple of techniques that we can use to get out of this negative loop. So understanding what is happening is step one, and then choosing an appropriate response is step two. So what we want to add to your psychology toolbox here in this second chapter is a practice of self-talk. So it's this negative critic that we want to silence. Yeah? We want this critic to shut up, and we want to replace these negative talk with something positive. And this is something that we can prepare. This is something that we can include in our game preparation. Yeah? To have a couple of short statements that focus on your abilities, focus on your strengths, focus on successes from the past. And these can be very short sentences, very short statements. I've got this. I'm in control. This is what I prepared for. Bring it on. I can handle it. So a couple of sentences, and you can practice with that, and some can even repeat. Some officials tend to repeat one of these sentences in different moments during the game. Some use it even like a mantra when they are just getting ready for the game. But it's this positive self-talk that gets you back in the driving seat. Yeah? That you are convincing your brain that you can do it, and rather than focusing on the things that went badly, you focus on the things that you can do. Yeah? And you get your focus back into the here and now. I can do this. I've got this. I can manage this. And then you focus again on what is happening on the pitch, on the players, on the play, etc. Yeah? So the practice of self-talk is a really important tool that you need to acquire. Yeah? And probably most of you already do that. Yeah? Consciously or unconsciously, we all talk to ourselves. But sometimes and often we talk in a negative way. So it's a good skill to have, to challenge our inner critic and to make it a positive inner voice. So
Kris?
That's the practice of self-talk.
Kris, can I ask a question? I was wondering, are there sentences, phrases that are more appropriate for certain scenarios, or is it really dependent on the person? Like, because my example, is there a better sentence to say in that case when you're distracted, when you're thinking about the negative things? Is there a better sentence, or does it really depend on the person?
What's most important? Yeah, the sentence itself is not the main factor. Yeah. So the the thing is to build a habit. Yeah? You can, for example, also say, I've made a mistake, I'm turning the page, I'm focused. Yeah? So you can include the fact that you've made a mistake, I'm human, I made a mistake, I'm only human, I'm focused on the next play. Things like that. Yeah? You can make it a bit longer, you can include that you made a mistake, that you take a step back and say, okay, I'm human, and now I'm refocusing on the game again. Yeah? Or you can have just a short one, like it's mentioned here on the slide. But it's building the habit of doing this frequently, and the sooner you, at the moment you find yourself focusing on a negative thought, right? The moment you catch yourself talking negatively, the sooner you change it and you use this positive statement, the easier it gets. And the more you get used to that, and you're building a habit. Yeah?
Maybe
and you get out of this negative cycle.
Sorry. Maybe I can
Eva,
add something. You can distinguish different kinds of self-talk. On the one hand, motivational self-talk. So if you really want to encourage yourself or give yourself a boost, like, come on, bring it on. And on the other hand, you have more task-related self-talk. So, and when you, for example, you lose your concentration because of low self-confidence at that moment, then you focus again on the task. So you look, okay, where's my position? What do I have to communicate to my fellow official? And so on. So you can divide into two kinds of self-talk. But as Kris said, it's the sooner the better. That is the most important thing of self-talk.
Okay, thank you.
The second tool when we are looking at confidence is making use of power poses. So using your body to trick your brain, as it were. If you're making yourself big, shoulders straight, head up, looking straight in the eyes of the players who are talking to you, gestures that are showing confidence. Even if your level of confidence is average, let's say, by adapting these powerful body poses, we can trick our brain. We are telling our brain, hey, I'm confident, I've got this, I'm managing this, even if we're not feeling 100% confident. Because these powerful body poses, what they do is they create a number of chemicals. They release a number of chemicals in our brain. And the level of cortisol, which increases stress and can have an impact on your confidence, this level of cortisol will go down, and the level of testosterone, which is the power hormone, will go up. Yeah? So if you're having large gestures, confident body poses, this can help you become more confident. And that's why we call it fake it till you make it. Yeah? Because in the first couple of weeks and months, it will be like a fake confidence. You are tricking your brain, but later on, it will be real confidence. Yeah? Because you will be able to say, I made a mistake, I'm moving on, I'm focusing on the next play. Even, yeah. So you're 100% confident again, even if you make a mistake. Yeah, so these are two examples, two tools to use for to increase confidence.
Lauren, I think that last one ties in really well with what we're always trying to tell officials with, you know, making, giving big signals. I think obviously one part is make sure everyone sees you, but the second part, the fact that it does, you know, the bigger a signal, the more confidence you exude and in the end also receive from doing that signal. What do you think?
Yeah, I think a strong, timely whistle, and then the big signals says to the sideline and the players and your partners, yeah, I know exactly what I saw. Even though you may think afterwards to yourself, maybe I didn't quite see that hit right there, but I thought I saw it hit right there. Well, nobody else is going to know that. Well, I just thought. You're telling everybody, oh yeah, she got her. So yes, absolutely. Selling the call is very similar to that.